calling for massive reductions in our state's water supply. And
two of the country's largest water reservoirs are at dangerously
low levels.
This water's good. We can build artificial intelligence, right? We can send rockets into space. We could put a computer in your pocket, more powerful than machines that once filled entire rooms. But there's one problem humanity still hasn't escaped. Water. Right? Turn on your faucet right there, and water comes out, right? Right? Most of us don't even think about it. But imagine turning that faucet one day and nothing happens. We're not talking about a temporary, all the water's off, but I'm talking about no shower, no drinking water, no water for crops, no water for entire cities. Think about that. And with water shortages becoming a serious concern in different parts of the world, I started thinking about something, right? We're sitting here in the 21st century worrying about water. But ancient civilizations had to solve this problem thousands of years ago. No electricity, no electric pumps, no satellites, no modern construction equipment. So, how did they do it? And what if some of the answers are still sitting underneath the ground? All right, so go back thousands of years. Long before modern plumbing civilizations understood one brutal truth, right? If you couldn't control water, your civilization could disappear. You could have soldiers, gold, temples, kings, but without reliable water, right? Water, none of it matters. And that's when ancient engineers started doing things that sound almost unbelievable. Pay attention to me, though, because it gets real deep. Take ancient Persia, right? Imagine standing in a dry landscape, looking around and seeing almost no surface water. But underneath your feet, there could be groundwater. So ancient engineers developed systems known as qanats, right? And this is crazy. They tapped underground water sources and created gently sloping tunnels that could carry that water, sometimes for many kilometers. And here's the part I want you to understand. Stay with me. They didn't need an electric pump pushing that water. Gravity did the work. They had to understand elevation, gradient, where the water was, where the settlement was, and how to move that water without wasting it. So, thousands of years ago. Some of these ancient qanat systems are still carrying water today. Think about that. We replace modern technology every few years. Pay attention. And people engineer water systems that could function for centuries. But Persia wasn't alone. Now travel to the desert landscape of Jordan, to Petra. You've probably seen it before. That incredible city carved directly into the rock. But when people look at Petra, they usually look at the buildings. They should be looking at the water, because Petra existed in an extremely dry environment. And yet the Nabateans developed an entire system for controlling it. Channels, cisterns, reservoirs, aqueducts, tunnels, diversion dams. When rain came, they didn't just watch it disappear. They captured it, right? They stored it. They redirected it, right? Right? And then they protected the city from dangerous floods at the same time. That's what makes this so interesting. Their problem wasn't simply, where do we find water? It was, when water comes, how do we make sure we don't waste it? You don't want to waste water, bro. Look. Then you get to the Roman world, and the scale becomes incredible. Roman engineers constructed aqueduct systems capable of moving water across enormous distances. And people sometimes imagine the aqueduct is just one giant stone bridge. But the bridges were only part of much larger systems. There were channels, tunnels, reservoirs, pipes, storage systems, and carefully calculated slopes that allow gravity to keep the water moving. In the Jerusalem region, for example, ancient waterworks connected springs, tunnels, pools, and long-distance aqueducts to supply a growing city. Some systems were repaired and adapted by civilization after civilization. Think about what that means. Different rulers, different cultures, different centuries, but the same infrastructure remained valuable because everybody understood the same thing. Water is civilization. Right? Now come back to today. Look around. Our cities are bigger. Our populations are larger. Our technology is unimaginably more powerful. And yet we're still asking one of humanity's oldest questions. Where's our water going to come from? That's the part of this story that gets me, right? I'm sorry for laughing. I don't mean to. Ancient people weren't magical. They weren't secretly using futuristic machines. They had something much more important. They adapted their cities to the environment they actually lived in. In dry regions, water could simply be treated as unlimited. It had to be collected, stored, protected, moved efficiently, and shared. Maybe that's the real lesson. When modern people hear about a water crisis, our first instinct is usually, what new technology can save us? And technology absolutely matters, right? Desalination, right? Water recycling, better irrigation, leak detection, modern reservoirs. All of that matters. But history asks us another question. What if solving the future also requires remembering what humans learned in the past? Go back in time. Because here's something history teaches us over and over again. Civilizations don't survive simply because they're powerful. They survive because they learn how to manage the things they cannot live without. Food, energy, land, and above almost everything else, water. Thousands of years ago, people looked at deserts, mountains, and dry valleys, and somehow figured out how to build cities there. Not because they had more technology than us, but because failure wasn't an opinion, or an option, I mean. So when you hear people talking about water shortages today, don't think it's only a modern story. You're looking at one of the oldest challenges in human civilization. Empires faced it. Ancient cities faced it. Our ancestors faced it. And now we're facing our version of it. The machines changed. The cities changed. The population changed. The question didn't. How do you build a civilization when the one thing every human being needs starts becoming harder to secure? Maybe the future of water isn't only a story about what we're going to invent. Maybe part of the answer is understanding what humanity already learned thousands of years ago. Because sometimes the best way to understand where we're going is to look at how we survived before.